Hi, and thanks for taking a look at our tutorial today, brought to you by theflickguy.com. Today we're going to be talking about motion tracking in After Effects. Specifically, we're going to be talking about those times when you need to track position, rotation, and scale. Now, if you have had experience with motion tracking before with position tracking only, you might find this tutorial pretty helpful when you have something a little bit more challenging. So let's get started. We're going to load up some footage here. It is some footage of a London Tubes underground train pulling into a station. And we're going to track that motion, and we're going to see if we can attach a logo onto that train so it looks like it's actually originally part of that train. At least that's what we hope to obtain through this. So let's bring down the footage into the window. I'll scrub it through here for you. Now here is a platform in London, and here is the train entering. And it's an interesting piece of footage because as you can see, the camera zooms back here, which radically changes the scale and the perspective, the apparent size of the front of that train. So what we want to do, of course, is to have the logo, which we're going to put right about here. We want it to look like it is painted onto the train or what have you. So let's see what we can do about that. Now, let's talk about getting our markers here. So with your footage highlight, let's click on track motion, and of course by default the position is checked, and we have a single track point show up on the screen. But we need a little bit more than that for this. As you can see, this is going to be a little bit trickier. We need to track scale and rotation as well as position. So let's check those two, and as you can see, we have the two tracking windows appear on the screen now. And you may be thinking, well, shouldn't there be three, because we're tracking three different elements? Well, actually the information that these two tracking windows get combined is actually sufficient to give us the details that we need for all those positions. And you see these bright lights that are on the front of the train. Wouldn't you agree that they would probably make an ideal point to start tracking on? A good contrast between the body of the train and those lights. So first thing we want to do, let's get that first tracking window. Let's get it moved over to that first light. Okay, let's adjust the outer window first, make sure we give it enough room, and let's get just enough room in that inner window so that we get a good contrast between the brightness of the light and that dark background. And now we're going to position the second tracking window. Let's do the same thing there. Let's position our windows, and that should do it right about there. Okay, so we're going to be tracking all sorts of data. So for the first while, we're going to just allow After Effects to track it automatically by selecting the play button in the Analyze window there, and let's see what it does. Now, as you can see, at least so far, it's doing a pretty good solid job of tracking that motion. And even when the camera zooms back, it's got a good handle on that perspective. At least it did until we reached the end. We lost our tracking when that one headlight left the scene. So what I've done here is I've backed up, and for the last few frames of that sequence, instead of just playing the play button, I've hit the frame forward button one at a time and manually reposition that window into place with each frame. And as you can see, the keyframes that are clear in the window there, they followed through quite smoothly, it looks like. And of course, as soon as we lose that that headlight altogether, that one element of our tracking, everything just sort of collapses. But that's okay. We have a way of fixing that. So we're going to show you how to do that later. Right now, what we need to do is we need to select our new null window, get it into place. And we want to edit our motion so that it is going to follow on the null window, and we're going to apply that. Okay, so let's have a look at that null window, and as you can see, that null object is good and solid, following the tracking motions of that train. So our next step is to get the logo into place that we're going to put on the front of that train. Bit of shameless promotion here. I'm using my logo from my website as the logo. Why not? Now, I created the logo in Photoshop using a transparent background. You'll want to save it as a PNG file because that will retain the transparency of that background. And obviously it's a little big. Let's scale it down so it's the right size. And we want to position it approximately where we think a good starting point is. Of course, I'm working in the dark here. And but I think that's probably a pretty good position to start with. So let's, with that in position, let's parent that layer onto our null object so that it follows lockstep with the motions of the null object. And if we scrub through, it doesn't look too bad at all. It's following the motion quite well. The position might be a bit low. The bottom line of the logo is kind of in that bumper area there. So let's take it back to our beginning position here. And let's reposition it. Now remember, if you're going to reposition that, you want to remove it from the null object first before you put it into its new position. Let's put it back onto the null object. Let's scrub that through. Let's see how we did. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad at all. It's following along quite well. All right, the scaling looks really good as we zoom out that lens, but we're about to get into a little trouble here because it was around this point that our motion tracker sort of fell apart on us here because we started to lose those headlights there. And as you can see, our null object and our logo are they don't know where to go now, and they're kind of flipping and flying all over the place. But that's okay. What we're going to do is we're going to fix this up one frame at a time. We don't have that many frames left in this sequencer, which is a good thing, I guess. So what we're going to do is do our best job to approximate what the size and scale and position of that logo was relative to the train, and position it one frame at a time as we go through. So we can use the figures that are in the window to help us through that. So let's see where our last good frame was. It's right about there. And let's open up our transition window on our null object here, and let's magnify it so that we can see all those keyframes, each one, so we can have a bit better idea of where we are. And we're just going to take us through one step at a time. It looks good right up until there, but as you can see at that last frame, the logo is really starting to significantly fall off its track. So let's take it back to where it was good. And as you can see, you can even watch your positions and get a good idea if your scale was going 110, 120, 130, and then it went back down to 110. You know that you need to increase it to say 140 on the next frame, and so on. So we've magnified it as a good guess as to where it should be on the next frame. Now, by repositioning the null object, remember, you have to use the null object to reposition, not the actual graphic itself or anything else. So we're using the null object to change scale, position, and rotation of that logo. And we're just going to move it in a little bit more to the right to try and match that motion. Not looking too bad so far. Okay, so let's just take it to the next frame. How does that look there? Okay. I think we're going to have to magnify it about there, let's say. And how are we doing for our rotation? Let's straighten her out maybe just a little bit there. Okay. Let's eyeball its position. Okay, so I'm going to fast forward the next few frames a little bit here because I'm pretty sure you get the idea. So we're going to go through each of those frames. We're going to do a little bit of an adjustment. As you can see, as we get closer and closer to the edge of that frame, the amount that the tracking is out, it increases exponentially. I mean, it shrinks, it flips upside down, but that's okay because it doesn't take that much to guess where it should be, play with the magnification, play it back and forth a little bit, just like old time. And there you go. I think we've got her. Okay, so we've got our exit worked out all right. I think now we need to work on our entrance. So we're back at the tunnel, and it might look like we have a bit of a problem here because we don't really have a way of tracking that image while it's in the dark tunnel. Well, that's not really a problem because we're going to actually take advantage of that dark tunnel, and we are going to actually hide that logo while it's still dark. We're going to play with the opacity a little bit to do that. So if we bring down the opacity down to 0, and then we just time it so it connects with the train right about there, and then we can dial up the opacity as the train enters the station and more light is being shone on it. So we're going to start that image at 0 opacity. Then we'll just see about what point there seems to be full light on the train. Probably somewhere right around there. So that's where we're going to enter our next keyframe. We're going to dial it up so that it becomes visible. Now we can play a little bit with the actual level of the opacity here. I don't know if we need to be 100%. That might be a bit too much of a glow. Let's give it around 75% or so. And maybe give it a little bit more natural look, and let's see how the timing of that goes. Does it look like it's being lit up at the same time? And yeah, that doesn't look too bad at all. Alright, let's output this to a movie and have a look at the final product. There you have it. Well, I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Please leave some comments, and if you have any ideas for further tutorials, please leave some of those ideas as well. Thanks for tuning in today. I'm the Flick Guy. Have a great day.